Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the time management webinar. We're glad that you could make it and show up on time. We're going to start off with a quick introduction of ourselves. So I am Hartley Mendelson, a student success advisor at the Thunder Bay campus. Joining me today is Eve Jagger, also a student success advisor at the Thunder Bay campus, and Kayla Van Weert, a student success advisor coming out of Aurelia campus. So a brief overview over what we're going to be covering today. We're going to go over prioritization, scheduling, energy and recovery, and discussing a little bit about procrastination. If you have any questions at all during the presentation webinar, feel free to pop them into the chat and we'll get to them later. So we'll get started here. So these are, okay, there we go. This is the time management quadrant. The first idea that we're going to cover is prioritization, and the concept seen in this chart is from Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. As you can see in the horizontal axis, we have urgent and non-urgent, and in the vertical, we have important and not important. The first quadrant are things that are urgent and important. These are deadline-driven projects, pressing problems, and emergencies. The second quadrant, which is where you're going to want to spend the most of your time, is for long-term projects, planning your week, exercise, nutrition, relationship building. Quadrant 3 is urgent and not important. So these would be meeting other people's priorities and expectations. And quadrant 4, not urgent, not important. This is often something where you'll find yourself procrastinating, and this would be social media, video games, and television. So it's important to ask yourself where you're spending what percentage of your time in which quadrant. It's important to go through your course syllabus in your different courses and determine what projects and studying plans fit in which quadrants for you. This will help make prioritization and scheduling your time easier. It's important to note that some priorities may not be urgent, but really matter, and if you ignore them for too long, they will become urgent. Staying ahead of the curve on long-term assignments and projects is key, so you don't get overwhelmed as they may transition from non-urgent to urgent if left on the back burner. It's important to ask yourself, where do you find yourself spending most of your time? A common pattern for many students is to spend too much time in quadrant 1 and pushing non-urgent or not important tasks to the back burner. Things in quadrant 3 may feel urgent because they pop up on your device, but they aren't necessarily that important to your long-term success and can be ignored to focus on other priorities. Quadrant 4 is similar. There are times to take a break and do those things, but aren't too helpful to reach your long-term goals. So do your best to minimize activities in quadrant 4 during your work or study hours. If you can spend more time in quadrant 2, this will help reduce the amount of time being stressed so you can focus on your efforts in the right place. You have to find a balance to keep your academic studies and lifestyle sustainable. For example, spending way too much time in quadrant 1 may result in burnout. So it's important when you're spending a lot of time in quadrant 1 to balance that out with activities that you enjoy, things in quadrant 4. Many students who struggle with time management report spending the overwhelming majority of their time in quadrants 1, 3, and 4, and that's when you start getting behind on your schoolwork. Prioritization begins with choosing to spend more time in quadrant 2. Although you'll still spend time in other quadrants over the course of a semester, prioritizing important and non-urgent tasks will help you stay on track and reduce stress. Now we're going to talk about how to make use of that time management quadrant theory from Covey. Start off with your syllabus. At the start of each term, your professors will give you a course syllabus or course outline. These can also be found in your D2L My Course link. They contain deadlines, assignments, exams, mostly quadrant 2 items. Important, but not urgent unless you leave them to the last minute. You want to avoid them becoming quadrant 1 items as much as possible because that's when stress increases. That's when it may lead to procrastination. So there's lots of different ways to schedule to stay ahead of the game. Your Lakehead email account is a Gmail account, which is synced with your Google Calendar, which is also synced with your My Info. So your courses are directly built into it. A lot of your scheduling is already done for you. Paper calendars work as well if you have everything written, but the downside is that they can get damaged, lost, they can't travel with you as easily, and this can lead to significant stress or missed deadlines. We encourage you to use your Google Calendar since it's synced with your Lakehead Gmail account. You can't lose it, and it's easy to edit and duplicate your schedule. It's also very easy to color code and make adjustments on the fly. One great time management tool is to make a monthly, semesterly schedule, whether with a Google Calendar or a big wall calendar. Look at all of your course outlines and write down the big deadlines. Note that your lecture times and labs will be auto-populated into your Google Calendar once you're signed up for your classes. The calendar should have all of your commitments, fixed weekly commitments such as class time, volunteering, and work hours. It's a really good idea to bold your assignments, tests, and exams, and other important deadlines. Using different colors can help you organize more clearly. Color code each different type of task, which will make it easier to see what types of tasks and activities you have coming up that day at a glance. The next tool is the weekly schedule. Once you have things mapped out long-term in a general sense, it's easy to sit down and map out specific tasks you need to do each day, how you spend each morning, afternoon, or evening. Get into a good rhythm by putting your commitments into your weekly calendar on a Sunday night. Divide each day into 90-minute blocks, assign each block a topic, course, or type of task, and spend 3 or 4 of those 90-minute blocks on each course each week. You're going to want to color code your weekly schedule by course so it's easy to follow and balance your coursework. Give each block a theme as well. An example of this would be if you're in biology, some different categories that you'll want to put for your coursework are reading, reviewing and summarizing notes, assignments, studies. It's also important to add in those personal blocks for working out, eating, coffee with a friend, anything that you're going to do to decompress and spend your time with something that you enjoy. If it's built into your calendar, you're going to feel less guilty doing it because your calendar is telling you to do it. And finally, the daily schedule. Each morning or the night before, assign specific tasks to those 90-minute blocks you made for the day. For example, a 90-minute block to study biology, you want to add tasks such as read chapters 3 and 4 and answer the review questions. That way, you know exactly what task to get to when that time block comes, and you don't waste time figuring out what to work on. This also makes it harder to push off studying or working on that specific topic or task. A quick pro tip, do the most challenging or least appealing tasks first thing. Once it's crossed off, you're going to be able to look forward to more enjoyable and easier tasks throughout the rest of the day. Now we're going to get to a video now to show you how to properly use the Google Calendar and how to navigate it and make it work for you.
All right, let's talk about Google Calendar here. I'm just going to show you some real basic ways to use it and apply the monthly, weekly, and daily planning ideas that we've been discussing. So first, this is Google Calendar. What's really cool about Google Calendar is that your classes are automatically populated in your Google Calendar because it's connected to your... All right, let's talk about Google Calendar here. I'm just going to show you some real basic ways to use it and apply the monthly, weekly, and daily planning ideas that we've been discussing. So first, this is Google Calendar. What's really cool about Google Calendar is that your classes are automatically populated in your Google Calendar because it's connected to your Lakehead email and your My Info account. So that makes it really convenient. Right now, we're looking at the month view. You have lots of different options. You can pick a daily view, you can pick a weekly view. Personally, I like the week view. I think it's the most helpful. It lets you see details of each day with a bit of a bigger picture. I like to use this small calendar on the side to toggle along to different weeks. So for instance, if I was doing my monthly planning and wanted to put in some due dates, maybe I have an English assignment due on Friday, October the 9th. So I could just click over here on the 9th. It would take me straight to that week. And then to add my due date, I would just click on the spot where I want to add it, right there. English assignment due. I will just type it in. And then if I click more options, it gives me a few other choices. Right now, I'm just going to change to the same color because I've got English coded as yellow. And so now I've got my English class listed, the class time, and the English assignment due. If I maybe want to make it stand out a little bit more, I could shrink it so that it stands out and doesn't look like just one big blob. Now that I've done that, I can go through my other syllabuses, pick out the due dates and exam times, and plug them in. Right now, I'm going to show you how to structure a week, so to do that weekly planning. So why don't we go back to the first week of school. School starts on Tuesday the 8th. And you can see for this student here, we've got their classes. So Psych 1100 is happening on Tuesday and Thursday, first thing in the morning. And then I've put in work time, so a 90-minute block and a 90-minute block for them to do work. If we pop to the next week, which has the Monday as well, you'll see I've got 1, 2, 3 90-minute blocks set aside all at the same time. That's a pretty ideal way to structure it, because then you're thinking about that subject at that time of day for working on that subject. And like we said before, this could be doing your readings, this could be reviewing notes, summarizing notes, this could be working on assignments and studying for tests. If we look here, we've also got biology. So we've got 2 biology times and a biology lab time. Well, we need to find some time to work on biology. So looking at this schedule, I would say that right before biology class would probably be a pretty good time to do some of the biology work. And it's fresh in your head. You're already in that kind of headspace. So we'll call it bio work. Again, more options, make it the same color. And then here's a neat little function is we can click on the does not repeat, and we can set how often we want this to show up. So I'm going to click custom, and then I can say, well, I'd like this to happen Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Click on, it takes me right to the end of the semester. Click done and save. Make sure you hit save, because this is the one Google function that doesn't auto-save everything. And now it's going to tell me every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it's time to do some biology work. So again, I can do my readings, review my notes the next day, get ready for the lab, etc. And what's cool is that this now happens as we go through the weeks. When you set it up as a custom repeat, you can make it so that it shows up every single week, which is pretty cool. So we'll go ahead and finish off. So right now I've got 3 math slots built in here. Maybe we should do another math work time on Saturday. Saturday is a sleep-in day. Let's not start at 8:30. We'll do math at 10. On Saturdays, and we'll have that repeat weekly on Saturday. Save that, and it shows up. Now, a neat option, if I wanted to invite someone, so if I need to make a change, you just click on the entry in your calendar, and you get this little window pops up. If I want to delete it, you can delete it. If I wanted to send it to somebody or invite somebody, I could do it that way. I need to make some changes. I can go in here, like if I needed to add a location, or if I wanted to add guests, find people. If I wanted to add a study group, I could just enter someone's name or email in there, and then it'll send them a notification or an invitation. Haven't made any changes, so I don't need to save. And then we need to find some time to work on English. So maybe right after English class wouldn't be a bad time. Or maybe English is what we're going to do in the evening. So maybe 6:30 till 8. We'll do English work. And again, more options. Pick the color. and have it repeat. We'll do a custom repeat. Maybe we do Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at that time. Oops, and I made a bit of a mistake there. I forgot to change it to on, so it was going to just keep going forever, which wouldn't be a problem. You could change that later. Google Calendar is beautiful because you can edit and change it at any point. Click Save. Now I'm doing English work a couple days a week. Now the other thing that's built in here, I've got wake up times every day. This person's waking up pretty early. The reason they're waking up early is because they're going to go to the gym a couple days a week. So let's go gym. Set up the repeat to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're going to let that one not stop repeating because that'll keep going into the next semester, hopefully. And maybe we'll use red as fitness. All right, so there we go. So we're keeping the basic brown default color that it gave us as our just kind of regular daily stuff. Fitness is now red, and then each class is color coded. So psychology is orange, biology is green, English is yellow, math is pink, and anthropology is blue. So the one thing that we haven't built in here yet is any anthropology work time. It looks like maybe that would be a good time to do some of that. And sometimes you have to kind of squeeze things in where you can fit them, and that's okay. So I'll have that repeat weekly on Monday, and then maybe we'll squeak another one in here. And actually, we could edit that to show up Friday and Saturday. Yeah, this and following events we want to keep happening. And so now, every week, we have the same basic setup. It's kind of nice. Looks like we've left Friday evening and Saturday evening as a bit of a later bedtime, a little bit more time for fun there, because you need to have fun. It's important that you take a break. And it looks like Sunday, during the regular part of term, might be a day off, which is a great thing. As things pop up, as things get busier, you might fill in Saturday a little bit more, might fill in Sunday a little bit more. That's totally normal. And some students might choose to not do any work in the evenings and build those all into the weekends. It's kind of a personal preference. This is just showing you how to use this and how to set it up. Other things that need to get built in. You need to eat. So let's figure out our lunch times. So from 1 till 1:30, and we'll have that repeat daily. There you go. Now it's in there every day. Again, this is just you setting up your own guidance. This is your time. You can change, alter it as you see fit. I forgot to title this. It's really nice. Again, a really nice thing about Google Calendar is that you can edit things at any time, make quick changes, and it shows up right away for you. And then maybe each day you want to build in a bit of a breather time in the evening. So I'll have that repeat daily. And I think I made it a little bit too long. Let's make it an hour and a half long. So after you finish your math work or your biology lab, you go for a little walk, have some dinner. And then in the evenings, make sure you schedule in things like fun. The reason to schedule in something like fun is that it allows you to do it because you're going to do it anyway. You're going to find social time. You're going to make it happen. But this way, you don't feel guilty because your calendar is telling you it's time to have fun. It's time to sit and watch Netflix. It's time to play a video game. It's time to go for a walk with a friend or have a coffee with somebody. And that's a really nice, freeing thing to do, especially if you've checked off all your work for the day and then now it's fun time. You can relax a little bit better. Now, that's the weekly planning. Each week go in, that's the long-term planning. Go to at the start of the semester, set up your blocks. Set up your 90-minute blocks for your week. Set them up to repeat so that your schedule is created. And then each week, you can have a look at what's coming up this week. So maybe you're going to take your psychology syllabus Sunday evening, sit down with your syllabus from each class, but we'll focus on psych right now. And you're going to say, okay, before my Tuesday lecture, I need to have read pages 27 to 67. And this time we're going to have just this event because that's just that day. And so now when I click on this, it's going to tell me what to do. Right? Read pages 27 to 67. And so now what you're going to do is you're going to go through each of your blocks, of each of your work time blocks, and assign yourself specific tasks to do. So it might be doing your reading, it might be reviewing notes, depending on when it is. But if you on Sunday evening go through your whole week and quickly tell yourself what it is you need to do in each of your work blocks, that really helps you set yourself up for success, because you now, on Friday afternoon, when it's math work time, when you open this up, it tells you exactly what to work on rather than you having to decide. Because on Friday afternoon, if you have the choice to decide what you're going to work on, you're probably going to say, oh, there's no work to do. It's really easy to trick yourself into thinking that. But if it's already been pre-decided for you, by you, it's a lot easier to hold yourself accountable. So that's Google Calendar. That's the basics of using it. Feel free to connect with upper year students, with the Student Success Center, with TAs, with instructors about other tips and tricks. The internet is also full of really good information on how to use Google Calendar. And those, like I said, were just some real basics to get you started. Enjoy.
A recording within a recording. For those that have seen Inception, know what I'm talking about. We have a couple of questions here that we'll get to right now. So the first question, hi, the 90-minute blocks is per day or per week for a single course or all? So to address that, to go back to what we were talking about, the 90-minute blocks, we're recommending that you have 3 to 4 90-minute blocks per course per week. So that would be 3 or 4 90-minute blocks for each course, each week, built into your calendar. And another question, does Google Calendar give you reminders? Yes, you can set up your Google Calendar however you want. You can set it up without reminders. You can set up with reminders 10 minutes before, 15 minutes before, 30 minutes before, whatever you want. It's completely customizable. And the best part is if you want a reminder for something that repeats itself, then you can do that all from just changing it within one block in your calendar. Okay. We're going to continue on here. If we could jump to the next slide. Some other factors to consider beyond creating a schedule and planning your tasks out. Your energy. This is so important. Which tasks are going to drain you and which will help you recharge? It's probably best to alternate between these. So something very tiring is followed up by something that makes you feel a little bit more rejuvenated, energized, and excited. For example, you shouldn't schedule work right after a 3-hour lecture, as that's lots of mental energy drained. Instead, use this time to go to the gym, do something fun, make some food, or go to an appointment at the Student Success Center with us. Productivity. It's important to figure out when you are most productive. The morning, the afternoon, the evening. Schedule important and urgent tasks around productive times. Avoid scheduling things for the last minute. Many of us might convince ourselves that we work well at the last minute, but most of us really don't, and this can play a big role in inducing stress and anxiety. I'll tell a little bit of a story about that and leaving things to the last minute. When I was in university, I remember in first year, I used to always leave things to the last minute, whether it was studying, working on an essay, and I would hand it in and my grades were what they were. And I remember the first time that I worked on a project weeks before it was due and studied for exams weeks before they were due. And I got my TA to look over my essay and I got enough study time for my exams. And it almost felt like I was cheating because I was able to edit and adjust my essay. I was going into the exam knowing the answers to the questions. And when you don't leave things to the last minute, it really helps. And it just clicked the first time that I did that, and there's no way of going back after you realize how much you can learn and how much you can accomplish when you actually do things and leave it in quadrant two rather than things getting too urgent and doing it in what we showed earlier was quadrant one. Another key way to stay on top of your productivity is finding ways to efficiently group tasks together whenever possible. So something like this would be cooking dinner while you're doing laundry, coupling them together and becoming a little bit more productive with some of your tasks that you're doing. And priorities. Setting priorities is key to your time management. Ask yourself what tasks are more important. Did you make time for those tasks? Try to phrase it as I didn't make time for it rather than I don't have time for it. This is a much more honest way to explain it and helps you become more responsible for your own time. Time management is often about self management and making time rather than having time. And it's a great way to help you recognize what your priorities are. Your energy level. To keep your energy level high, you have to have time to recover. Athletes don't train at their max all the time. They have times when they work really hard and times when they rest and recover. Scheduling short breaks into your work will help you regain your focus and put in high quality effort. You can't sprint all the time and you can't study all day every day. So be very mindful of those breaks that will help you recover some of your energy. It's a good idea that every hour and a half of work be rewarded with at least 15 minutes of rest time to let your mind decompress a little bit. It might be hard to convince yourself that you need the rest and you really need to get the work done, but when you come back, you're going to feel more effective, more efficient, and a little bit more recharged. Recovery is so important to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Do healthy things to recover, such as exercising in nature, playing hockey, skating, hiking, whatever it is that works for you. Working out's another great option. Really, anything that can ease your mind and allow you to decompress are very helpful to regain your focus and recover. Just make sure to be mindful of and take advantage of opportunities to recharge and recover and make yourself more effective when you're going to jump back into your studies. If you find yourself feeling overwhelmed or anxious, it's not anything to worry about. It's a very normal part of university studies. When you feel that way, you might feel like the answer or your reaction is to just give up, hide, or put some things off until later. But all that really does is defer the stress. Often the best time to deal with something is now. A good way to manage anxiety and feeling overwhelmed is to make a list or plan of all those things you need to get done and break those bigger tasks into smaller tasks. Um, if you identify each of the smaller steps that needs to be taken to complete the bigger task, it often feels a lot less scary and overwhelming. Always be sure to access the academic support at Lakehead, which is listed on the slide here. These supports are all in place to ensure that you can do your best. Using these services does not mean that you're not smart or not capable. It just means that you need a little bit of help, and we're always happy to help. It might also mean that you don't know how to do school, not that you're not able to do school. So please come and see us. Like I said, we're always happy to help. We're always happy to assist and get you back on the right track. Additionally, student health and wellness and student accessibility services are in place to make sure you have what you need. So please connect with the Lakehead services, ask questions. If they're not the right place to connect you with what you need or the right place to answer your questions, they'll let you know and help you connect with that place and support that's most helpful to your specific situation. Procrastination. The definition of procrastination is choosing pleasurable activities over pressing demands. And in our case, it's basically putting off work until later. And we have to find ways to avoid procrastination, which we're going to get into. Procrastination can lead to lots of trouble, like a lack of focus and commitment, which may result in poor academic results. And that's definitely not something that we want. The problem with procrastination is that it's a cycle. As you procrastinate more, you become less focused, which makes you procrastinate more. You get less focused, less committed, and your grades start to slowly get worse. Then you start to get into extreme cases where you feel guilty or inadequate, or even start to feel a little bit depressed. This makes it even harder to be committed, motivated, and focused. So if you feel yourself starting down the road of procrastination, it's important to take care of it quickly. But why do we procrastinate? There can be a number of different reasons, but it's important to understand why you might be procrastinating. We genuinely just aren't interested in the topic, is one reason. Even if this is the case, if you're signed up for the course, you need to get through it, especially if you're after the drop date. Sometimes you just have to dig down for some motivation and get through it and remember the courses will be over in a couple of weeks. Sometimes we believe we work best under pressure, but this usually just isn't true. The more time you spend spread out on an assignment, the better and more efficient your studying will be. And working in short bursts over a long period of time is very helpful. Another reason we often procrastinate, we're worried about not being perfect. Self-handicapping perfectionism means that you want to reduce the impact of a poor grade on your self-esteem. If you invest yourself fully into a task, giving 100% and still earn a low mark, this will damage your self-esteem. But if you wait until the day before and only invest 60 to 80% of your effort and earn a poor to average grade, this will be a lot more easier for your self-esteem to accept. It's a trick that you can play on yourself, and it's very important not to fall into that trick. Procrastination is a form of self-handicapping, as I mentioned, because people don't want to believe that 100% of our effort will fall short. You're not going to be perfect at the end of the day. No one's expecting you to be, and everyone's just expecting you to put in your best effort. So dealing with procrastination is so important, and you want to stay ahead of it. So a couple strategies are to be aware. What are the tendencies you do when you're procrastinating? Do you find yourself using your phone, watching Netflix, playing games, just leaving the room altogether? If you notice that you're doing the same activity over and over again, especially at times when you're meant to be doing schoolwork according to your calendar, you're probably procrastinating. It's a good idea to be mindful of what those options are that you're doing instead of doing your work and try to limit them. A great strategy is to set small, achievable goals and break bigger tasks into smaller steps so you can check things off quickly and get through the work faster. And suddenly you're thinking about it in a different way. Rather than looking at this huge project, you're completing steps along the way to complete the huge project. And it's going to help you become more aware and efficient. And also, you're going to be less likely to procrastinate. If it's becoming a real problem, it's important to seek some help from the Student Success Center. We're happy to help with your time management, procrastination, and other academic skills. And beyond that, student health and wellness is another great resource to help with your personal mental health if you start feeling a little bit depressed from all your building up projects from procrastination. Some additional time management tips: be realistic. Recognize that studying takes time. You can't do a 10-page paper in just one day. It takes hours and hours. Start your assignments early. Early means immediately. Putting hours and hours into a 10-page paper isn't so bad if it's spread out over the course of a semester. If you wait until the day before it's due, suddenly you've run into a major problem. Not enough time to do it well. Break large tasks. I can't stress how important that is. Writing a 10-page paper can be very intimidating and a terrifying idea, but finding 6 resources or scholarly articles isn't so bad. Use smaller, more specific steps to help you along the way, and all of a sudden, some of these bigger projects don't seem so big. And learning to say no. This is very important. Use the do not disturb sign on your door or the do not disturb function on your phone. If someone asks you to join them for a fun activity and your calendar is full, let them know that you can't today, but will have time another time. And if it helps, show them the block of your calendar so that they see that you're already committed to something. You know, it's so important to stick to your commitments, especially your schoolwork, so you don't fall behind. A little bit of a recap here. Choose your priorities. Focus on what matters and what's important, and ask yourself if tasks are urgent and important, and try to keep yourself in that quadrant 2, important but not urgent. Focus on those tasks that are going to help you move forward with your long-term goals before you get overwhelmed and stressed by too many things building up. Use monthly, weekly, and daily strategies. Be specific and realistic about your tasks and find out what works best for you. Mixing things up, take breaks, rest, find ways to recover, and ultimately understand and manage your procrastination. Once you start procrastinating, it can be very difficult to get on top of your work, but be sure to get on top of it before it becomes unmanageable. A little bit of a take home message here. Time management is actually self management. Be aware of how you're managing your time and be aware of how you're taking care of yourself to recover. Understanding yourself and using effective strategies will reduce your stress and boost your grades. You'll also have time to enjoy hobbies and social activities and have the best time possible while you're here at Lakehead. Um, we use a couple of resources to support some of the strategies that we showcased in the presentation. And, another thing about university, it's always important to cite your references. And for additional resources, we do have tutoring at Lakehead. You can find that at lakeheadu.ca/tutoring. The Student Success Center is another great resource, and we have the Academic Support Zone. You can navigate all of that at our website, which is shown on the slide here. Feel free to reach out with any questions at any time. We're going to get into the Q&A and the chat now. If anyone has any questions, feel free to pop them up now before we miss them. So the first question that we have here is how to add a Zoom meeting link to the calendar for online lectures. So if those aren't included in your built-in calendar that's associated with your My Info, you can just copy the Zoom link and open up that block on the calendar and add it into the description or add in the Zoom link to the location that will be shown in the Google Calendar, which will help have you be able to access the Zoom at any time directly from your calendar, whether it's from your phone or your computer.